Okay, Peter, are you ready on your end?
I am ready, Ted.
Excellent. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ted Harris. I'm with the Pennsylvania Petroleum Association and PPA Tech. I would like to welcome you to our monthly webinar series, which this normally takes place the first Tuesday of each month. Due to COVID-19 and just everything that we as an industry and as a state, as a nation are dealing with here, we decided to push this webinar back until later in April. So we appreciate your patience. If you did sign up for the one early this month, thank you for sticking with us here. Before we get started this morning, I would like to encourage you to ask questions throughout the webinar. You're going to be on mute as an attendee, but you can ask a question by typing it into the question field and go to webinar. Once we end the webinar today or the presentation today, we will moderate those questions back to our presenters. If for some reason we don't get to your question, or if it's more specific, I will make it a point to connect you with our presenters after the fact. So again, I encourage you to ask questions, and we will absolutely address them throughout the webinar. So at this point, I would like to introduce our presenters, which is Peter, Randy, and Todd from the National Energy Improvement Fund. And what they're going to be covering today is using trustworthy, low payment, no contractor fee financing to drive HVAC equipment sales. And at this point, I will pass it off to them.
Well, thank you, Ted, and good morning, everyone. This is Peter Kreisa. I'm the co-chair and founder of the National Energy Improvement Fund, and many of you may remember me from our days at AFC First Financial Corporation and the Keystone Help Program. And so greetings from Allentown, the world headquarters of NEIF, and it's actually sunny in Pennsylvania, which is kind of a rare thing for all of us. Like many of you, since we're an essential business, like most of you guys, I've been able to come to the office and we've been running a skeleton staff. But I've been trying to tell my wife I'm essential for like 35 years. I now have government proof that I am, so that's working out for me. But what we'd like to focus on, and again, thank you to Ted and our long engagement with the Pennsylvania Petroleum Association, to really kind of talk about financing, but also talk about what's going to go on now in the kind of the new world that we're in right now, immediately right now, and what's it going to look like in a month and 2 months, and where is the consumer head going to be? We've been spending a lot of time talking to lots of contractors around the country and trying to get a feel for the consumer pulse in terms of their willingness to make upgrades and improvements, and their uncertainty and confusion right now, and all of us are a little bit flummoxed, is my new word, perplexed. So what we're going to do is spend a little time talking about, just to give you a little bit of backstory on National Energy Improvement Fund and where we came from, some updates on perhaps the resurgence of Keystone Help, talk about my view on where financing fits in kind of the universe. And we also have a couple special guests as part of our team. Randy Bach, who's our Senior Director of Business Development, is on the line. And Todd Fosh, who you may remember, who's done a lot of presentations to the oil industry, is doing sales consulting work with us as well. So he'll talk a little bit at the end. So I want to focus in the beginning just on this whole idea of trusted financing versus generic financing. And I'll go through, first of all, though, I'm trying to make the slides go down here. Excuse me one second. They were working just a second ago. Sorry, Ted, I'm just trying to get my slides to advance here. Okay. So the National Energy Improvement Fund, and I'll talk about that briefly, is a company that goes back to the roots of our family business, my family business, back in 1947 when my grandparents and my dad started a company in Allentown as a consumer lender. And we moved that business, as you might remember, in the late 90s into nothing but energy efficiency lending. So all we did for the last 20 years has been focused on helping contractors grow their business. And we started Keystone Help. We started many other different programs around the country with Pennsylvania Treasury and other folks, always focused on fair, transparent financing versus what I would call promotional financing. We'll talk about that in a second. Sold that company in 2015 to a California company called Renew Financial. And as those things tend to go, since I never really worked for anybody in my life, it was okay. We had about 80 people working here in Allentown, and we provided financing for Keystone Help for a while. But after my non-compete was over in 2017, I decided that flying back and forth to Oakland, California was not for me, and I decided to kind of reform a new company and doing it in a different way to focus on helping all our friends in the HVAC and home improvement and energy industry help grow their business. So we formed the National Energy Improvement Fund as what's called a benefit corporation, which is essentially a for-profit company, but we are mission-based, which kind of gives us a differentiation both in terms of how I always thought about American capitalism, which is to do the right thing, make some money and have fun. And, that's my version of where we want to go with this thing, and not really, it's given us a differentiation. So my partner, Matthew Brown, in Colorado, and I and much of our team started the National Energy Improvement Fund. And Ted, I can't get the damn slides to get going here. I gotta do that. Sorry for the, okay. This B Corp certification, it's an important distinction. I don't know if many of you have heard about it, but it's basically certifying our standards as being ethical and fair and transparent, and we're the only B Corp certified lender in the country, highly selective. And then as a result of that, we became the Department of Energy's first home improvement expert partner lender. And so there's a differentiation from us, other than what I would call traditional finance companies and manufacturer programs that they may finance HVAC, and they may finance hot tubs, and they may finance ATVs, and they may finance facelifts. That's not what we do. All we do is focus on helping contractors grow their business through effective, fair, transparent financing for energy efficiency. There's my smiling face, who you might recognize me from many a conference, and my partner Matthew Brown, Laura Nelson, our COO. And a bunch of names that you may recognize or not, but Tessa Shin, who runs our lending programs, and Randy's on the line. Greg Burns, who many of you may know because he used to have a presence here in Pennsylvania, now lives in Maine, is all part of our staff. We serve 4 different customer types. We focus on homeowners, and we'll talk about that today primarily. We also provide financing for business. A new initiative is we are doing a lot of bridge financing for contractors, where we are providing advanced funding on larger rebate programs for utilities and other programs. And when I think about that, I hope all of you guys on the call were successful in getting your PPP loans. And it's a horrible thing, but a really tremendous thing to take advantage of. And if you didn't make the first cut, I hope you're there now. And then of course we work with governments and utilities and manufacturers and distributors to promote our programs. So it's all about what's our differentiation. We partner with leading contractors to increase the affordability and accessibility of energy efficiency and resiliency improvements, and really helping contractors who get that and dealers to get that to grow their business. Because as you know, in the world, there's different kinds of contractors, different kinds of dealers, and the ones that we do best with are the ones that are customer-centric, service-centric, really operating at a high level, regardless of size. You could be a one-man company or a 500-person company, but it's all about commitment to customer service and providing the best value and focus. 4 pillars of our company, really simple, keep it simple, uncomplicated process, responsive communication. Transparency, probably my number one thing, and the thing I'm going to talk most about financing. No hidden terms, no rates that can jump to 32%, no contractor fees. All about making it simple for your sales team and the customer to understand what the transaction is. Fair, that's a bit self-serving, but we're third-party certified to meet the highest standard of accountability and doing business the right way. And then finally, expert. We've been doing this a long, long time, and we think we understand a little bit about the space. We've done many, many programs, including Pennsylvania's Keystone Help, and we've taken over, frankly, a lot of these programs back. So, for example, we're running the state program in Maine, and we're running, we're actually lending from Maine to Florida in both energy efficiency and resiliency lending, with our focus here, of course, being in Pennsylvania. Lots of support from trade associations and other folks. But what I really want to talk about, though, is how to respond to the strange times we're in right now and helping customers pay for essential upgrades, which ties into our kind of conventional financing programs as well. So right now, we are talking about our product. We're the National Energy Improvement Fund, but the Energy Plus loan is really focused on low monthly payment financing, fair, simple, trustworthy, and that good housekeeping seal of a contractor of being an approved contractor of the National Energy Improvement Fund is a seal of customer confidence and the assurance that they're going to get honesty and forthright transparency from you as a contractor related to the financing programs that we're offering. Right now, in today's world, and whatever it is today, April 28th, we've been working a lot with contractors who are in your situation that we're unsure as to what they could do from a sales and service standpoint. So obviously, essential home repairs and upgrades have been an allowable improvement, and frankly, and this is really shocking to me, we have actually seen an uptick in our loan volume over this period, and I'll talk about why I think that is, because I'm as shocked as anybody. You're thinking that the economy is shut down. There are a lot of people doing lots of upgrades and essential improvements and repairs in HVAC and other disciplines that meet the criteria of any kind of government shutdown in any state. And what we're finding is that customers, again, are afraid, and they're just saying, I want to deal with a quality contractor. I want to make sure that the financing that I'm going to get through them is stable, simple, and transparent. And how can I get through this whole process and not be worried about what's going to happen to me in 6 months? I am concerned. Will I have a job? We hope they will, so they pay us back. But will I have a job? What will that look like? Will I be out of my house? What's going to be going on? But I need to replace my HVAC. I need to upgrade my unit. I need to fix my broken heat pump. I need to do all those things. I can't wait for that. So we've been focused on trying to help contractors through that right now with our basic, trustworthy 100% financing program. No money out of your pocket. What's the problem with most consumers right now? They have limited resources, just like most small businesses. They can't afford to write a check for $10,000 for a new HVAC system. They can maybe afford it, but they don't want to because they may need that as a resource to keep later on. So, we're trying to come up with a solution for them with you, and that's the focus about you as a contractor being able to help them with finance essential upgrades. So we'll talk specifically about this trusted financing product. And again, our current product, which is available to approved contractors to finance pretty much anything that you do in the HVAC world. So air conditioning, any efficiency rating, furnaces and boilers, heat pumps, gas line extension, generators, geothermal, anything that you're doing, plumbing, tank removal, all financeable under this standard Energy Plus loan program. When we do launch Keystone Help, hopefully within, I'm going to guess, 3 months, we will have this program still, and there will be lower interest rates subsidized by the states for probably Energy Star rated improvements. So I just want to get this through to your head that this is a very straightforward product available for pretty much anything that you do currently. No minimum efficiency ratings, no real conditions upon anything along those lines. But here's where I think the differentiation is. So I'm going to talk about the missing 25% of the market and what I call the fallacy of 0% financing. The question is, and again, part of this is what's going to the world look like in 2 months, but what's the world look like right now? What keeps customers on the fence? Historically, I've heard a 40% closing rate for a true HVAC company is a really good closing rate. And I recognize that if you have oil customers only and you're selling only to those customers, your closing rate on upgrades may be higher. But that 40%, 35 to 40% is a pretty consistent number that we see across the marketplace. I've always wondered, well, what's happening to the other 60%? Why aren't customers buying from you? Certainly it's not your reputation. You've been around for 25 years, 50 years. You're a wonderful company. You've providing great service. Your technicians and sales team have made a great presentation, but they're on the fence because they still don't view the improvement as affordable, and they're maybe cautious, especially in today's environment, of using credit cards or promotional financing. And I'll talk more about promotional financing in a second. We live in a very monthly payment conditioned society right now. As you know, 85% of all auto purchases are financed. on fixed monthly payment plans. They aren't financed on credit cards and adjustable rate programs and lines of credit. That's not how they're financed. The people want to have a stable monthly payment that's in their budget. I've been saying this for 20 years. Big ticket HVAC upgrades are no different than almost the cost of a small car. It's a major capital purchase, and probably not one that people really want to do, right? I mean, you want to buy a new car, you want to replace your kitchen, you want to buy a new house. You don't really want to replace your HVAC system. No matter how many people can talk about, energy efficiency and wanting to make their home more sustainable. Yeah. There's 5% of the market that really thinks about that. 95% of us are like, I just want a home that's comfortable and efficient. And yes, I'd like to minimize my energy costs, but really I want my home to be healthy. Really important thing in today's environment, the whole COVID environment. The healthy home mantra is going to become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But that's what I want. And if it's going to cost me $7,000 for the crappy system and $12,000 for the really good system that can accomplish those things, what can you, Mr. Contractor, what can you do for me to make that a non-scary decision? Average American's cash is currently $3,000 to $7,000. Today, they don't want to spend that. What's your average installation cost? Probably a lot more than that. When's the last time you bought a car and you weren't presented with a fixed monthly payment option at point of purchase? Probably never. I'm going back now 20 years when I would work with contractors and I would say, do you offer financing? Do you? Well, no. Well, if somebody asked, we give our quote, and I said, so we all know that nobody wants to ask, do you offer financing? So then they say, okay, well, I do offer it, now. I include it because we have this great, 0% for a 3-month program or 6-month program or whatever it is, and we'll talk more about the cost of all that. And I'm saying, have you introduced a monthly payment on every plan? And the answer is no. So I used to run around with little stickers to try to encourage them to put a monthly payment option on every proposal. Obviously, that's moved now into technology and other tools that we can show you how to integrate that. But I got this resistance from HVAC companies and home improvement companies to think that way, to think about their installation as being a major capital improvement that has to be presented almost like an auto finance presentation with a fixed monthly payment. The best sales process I've ever seen, the best close I've ever seen is won by a very large HVAC contractor in the Southeast that came in at the end of their close and they said, okay, Mr. Jones, we have 3 different options for you, our good, better, best option. Great. And we have 4 different ways you can pay us. We take cash. If you have that, and it's a third. We take credit cards if you want to get your points, for your American Express or your Visa. We have this promotional finance program through this manufacturer that's 0% for 6 months or whatever it is. And we have a low monthly payment option of $49 a month or $99 a month through a special energy efficiency financing program. How would you like to pay us? You know what they've just done? They've just removed the greatest obstacle a customer has, how they're going to pay for this upgrade. And we have seen, whether they choose our program or choose the promotional financing program or choose using their credit cards or choose paying cash, the customer feels they have choices, simple choices, and they're not being shoved into one kind of financing program that says, I don't want another credit card. I don't want another, Synchrony credit card. That's the last thing I want. So here's an option. If you want it, great. I use the and I'll talk about this in a second, like when I personally use that kind of financing versus what I'm talking about. But the whole point is about integrating it upfront and making it part of your trusted approach. So I talk about the quarter of the market that is the true monthly payment buyer who's looking for confidence. So here's the breakout to me, and I think this is pretty accurate. I mean, you can argue with me about incremental differences here, but about 25% of all buyers are cash or credit card buyers. I'll just use my cash or maybe use my cards to get the points. My favorite line from a contractor, of course, is, all my customers pay cash. I said, well, no, only your customers that are actually buying from you are paying cash. You don't know what you're leaving on the table. Unless your close rate is 100% and all your customers are paying cash, then not all your customers are paying cash. So you have that quadrant of the market. That's a great quadrant. We like that. They pay us. It doesn't cost us anything. Nominal credit card fee. I'll skip to the right quadrant there, the credit challenge buyer. We all have those buyers. That's 25% of the market. They'll pay anything just to get me approved. That's not really a focus of our business. I think it's important that a contractor has a lender that will consider some of those kinds of buyers. But I think many of you are positioned to kind of a higher market. I don't mean higher from an elitist standpoint. I mean just from a middle market standpoint. But that is 25% of the market. The promotional financing buyer. And here's where I will get a bit pedantic, I guess, in my presentation. So this has driven me nuts for a long, long time. Back in the day where there were 0% financing and it was a short-term thing, where 0% for 6 months and it went to 32% thereafter. I found that duplicitous. I don't know what the word is. And then plus that would cost the contractor some fee. Well, the world has changed a little bit, and you know this, and now we are seeing, kind of through desperation, longer-term 0% or low-rate financing programs. So when we see on TV, buy your new Toyota, it's a $4,000 rebate or 0% financing for 5 years. Well, good, that's legit 0% financing for 5 years. But guess what it's costing somebody? $4,000, right? It's not free. So we all know that there's a cost to subsidized financing. That cost, again, as you know, can be borne by the manufacturer out of their profits, could be borne to some level by the distributor. Ultimately, it comes falling back to the contractor to some degree, even if part of it's being subsidized. And they have to say, am I willing to eat 4, 5, 6, 10, 15% of my profits to subsidize financing? That's a business decision first. The second thing is, and this is my great concern, am I engaging in a fair lending practice violation if I, in fact, build that fee into any kind of financing product that I'm offering? Yeah, you are, if you're not doing it across the board. If you're saying, listen, I'm going to build a 10% financing cost across the board to all my jobs, and every single customer is paying 10% more because 25% of your customers are taking 0% financing, that's legal. That's okay. If you pick and choose, okay, well, if you want the 0% financing, the job's going to be $1,200 instead of $1,100. That's illegal, right? And I'm very concerned about this becoming the next subprime mortgage crisis, the whole contractor fee crisis, especially from a consumer protection standpoint. So I think there's ways to do it, and I think it takes a portion of the market who wants promotional financing. But I'll give you my example. So I went and bought a mattress, 6 months ago. And I hadn't bought a mattress, as we all know. I don't know who buys mattresses. I bought a mattress 15 years ago. And I'm at Mattress Firm or Mattress Warehouse or wherever I was. And they said, hey, well, gee, we have 0% financing, for 18 months. And I said, okay, and the mattress was like $2,500. So I said, well, yeah, tell me about it. Because first of all, it's $2,500. I could put it on my credit card now. I could pay that off in 6 months, whenever the promotional period is over, or 18 months. And, it's not an issue. But if you're going to let me take free money, well, sure, why not? And I asked, is there any change in the price? And they said, no, it's the same price. I said, okay, well, I'll do that. So I now have a Synchrony credit card for a mattress for $2,500, right? That I have to watch every month to make sure that I'm making that extra payment so that I pay that thing off before it goes to, I think it's 28% or whatever the rate is that it converts to after the 18-month period. I'm a informed consumer. I know what I'm doing. Most people don't understand consumer credit, don't understand that may be appropriate for a $1,000 investment or a $2,500 investment, but for a $10,000 investment, do you want to put yourself in that box? So that's why our focus and what I built my whole kind of profession on is providing a financing option for a customer who wants, I want to get your best improvement, sell me your best thing, and give me a monthly payment that I can afford, and let me make sure there's no gimmicks, nothing fancy about it. Make sure that I can pay it off at any time I want to without penalty. I don't want to lien on my house. Just make it easy for me, right? Make it simple for me. And if I'm the contractor, I'm saying, yeah, and I don't want to pay any fees either. I don't want to pay. Why would I have to build a financing fee into my thing if I can broaden into this 25% of the market? So this is kind of the combination of trusted financing that we're talking about. And I know there's a lot on this slide, but I'll just talk about what we're offering as the National Energy Improvement Fund now for all those improvements we talked about, and then what it might look like with Keystone Help. So our whole focus is on the simple, transparent, fair, and expert financing, 3, 5, and 10-year fixed rate options, no cost to contractor. You can see the chart there. Rates range from 7.99 to 9.99. We do have a second tier for lower credit, but I would say that 75% of our applicants fall into that tier 1. $2,500 to $25,000, no income verification, primary residence or vacation home, and pretty much any make and model of anything that you're doing. So a very, very simple approach to financing, again, with no cost to you. So our process, this is about the simplicity. I know that, and I'll throw names. Green Sky, Wells Fargo, Synchrony, Red Brick, which is now out of business. That's the other thing we found, by the way, in this current pandemic, especially not so much in the HVAC world, because I believe Wells Fargo and Synchrony are, they're big monolithic banks and they'll be fine. But a bunch of companies have actually stopped lending, especially in the home improvement side. I've heard of about 5 lending companies that either tightened their credit or restricted their credit, and that's another foundational reason to deal with a trusted partner, because we are actually seeing growth in our business. So, but the processes for some of those are really easy. Hey, I can just have the customer sign right here, and boom, bam, boom, it's all good. Or I don't want to deal with anything. Here's a phone number, call them. We try to combine the best of all that together and keep it as simple as possible. So to me, it's all about giving your customer the monthly payment option up front. So you'll see in that little chart to the right, $7,500 job, 10-year payment plan, $99 a month. Or you can do a good, better, best comparison. Why would I take the 10-year term? Because it's the lowest payment. But guess what? I get pay extra every month or pay it off whenever I want to without a penalty. So why wouldn't I take it? So you give your customer the monthly payment options. We'll show you the tool, but there's a simple tool that you have that the customer submits an application and they get an immediate credit decision. And you can find it out. You have access to a portal. Your sales guy or your office has access to immediate access to that decision. In today's, it's 2020, that's the year, I guess, right? Everything's electronic. We send the electronic loan docs to the customer for their signature, so there's no paper going back and forth with anybody. The only thing we need you to do is upload your proposal or your estimate showing that, yes, I'm in fact installing an Energy Kinetics, System 2000, blah, 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 boiler, and it's going to cost $8,500. We upload that. You do your work. We pay you. We get a completion certificate that you get signed by the customer and the contract and you, and you upload that, and we pay you via ACH within 2 business days. So, we try to minimize as much as we can, but you get paid 100% of the job. You can finance 100% of the job, or you can finance as much as the customer wants to finance. But again, we try to keep the process simple and transparent and easy. The tool that we give you, every contractor, and some of you on the phone that are approved with us now, each contractor has their own what's called financing gateway. So there's a URL that we give you that says, NEIF/fund/Jeter Brothers, whatever it is, that is your financing gateway that you can use on your website, but more importantly, you can use it on your phone or tablet. That gives you the ability to get right into your system, show a customer comparative payments, and then apply immediately online. And then you have, I'm sorry, I went all the way, sorry about that. I was doing so well. Then everybody, each contractor has a portal where you can go in and track all your deals and see everything what's going on. Now, also, more importantly, we're not some monolithic, faceless company. You have Randy Bach right here, who's on the phone. You have an entire team of energy lending specialists based here in Allentown that you can pick up the phone or message for this portal, who will walk through things with you and talk about any possibility for you and your customer. Our job is to make this easy for you and the customer, and we take care of the details so you can focus on sales. So the process is a good process, but it's more about the focus and the support. We provide you with what I call both digital logos, buttons, and campaigns that you can use on your website or printed materials. And we're coming up with a series of campaigns really focused on this trusted financing. Improve your home with trusted fixed rate monthly payment financing. And this kind of goes to full circle about how you expand your business. It's not that you're just offering financing. It's that you are an approved contractor of the National Energy Improvement Fund, the nation's only B Corp certified lender, the nation's only DOE home improvement expert partner, and that transference of credibility is supporting your business. And everything we do gives you the resources to promote that and tie it all together into your business. So now you are, you're not only a carrier dealer or a REAM dealer or an energy kinetics dealer, you're also an approved contractor of the National Energy Improvement Fund. And we believe that adds a lot of credibility to companies that already have a lot of credibility. As a second point, we also offer commercial financing. If you are doing the small office building or the church or the other things, we do have programs that handle all that. And this rebate advance program, it's interesting. I'll just give you an example of what we're doing in New Jersey. There's a home performance program where there's a $4,000 rebate paid to the contractor by the state, but it takes the state 5 months to pay the contractor. So we have a program where we're able to advance funds on that rebate. So those are the other two legs of our stool. How do you get engaged in the program and why become a NEIF approved contractor? It's really your reputational enhancement from your company's association with the only B Corp certified lender. Our alliances with green banks and utilities. So when Keystone Help comes on board, as soon as we're able to get this going after this current situation, you'll be the first to be involved in all that. And you will be associated with that from a public relations standpoint and announce your engagement with Keystone Help to all your customers. My guess, by the way, on that program, if we're at a 7.99 rate right now for a 10-year term, we're trying to get that rate down to a 4.99 or a 5.99 rate with no contractor fee on a 10-year term because of the state subsidy. We may offer some buy-down programs availability, but the way I like to do that, I never like to see a rate buy-down more than what you're paying for a credit card. So it would be something, what can you buy the rate down for 2 or 3 or 4%? And once we step into that world of 10% or 15% buy downs, that really dangerous world, we won't be touching any of that. But just so you're aware of that. Sales training, Todd will talk about that briefly, but Randy is able to come to your place or train your sales team, or Brittany Heller, who's also on the line here, who is our contractor support liaison. They can all help you with how to get engaged in using all this stuff. I'm not going to take you to the website, but there's a full-blown contractor search engine. If you go to the neiffund.org site, you can search by specialty, by region, by company, and a customer can find you there. And again, we are then also putting together a whole, just had a really great call on this yesterday, a whole series of integrated social media postings and advertising templates and even postcard mailings that you'll be able to integrate this kind of trusted financing with your promotion. That's coming soon. But to become approved, just go to NEIFfund.org, NEIFfund.org for contractors, and it'll take you to become an approved contractor, and you'll see all our partners there. So you'll see, oh, gee, I'm an energy kinetics dealer. You click on them, that gives you kind of an expedited process. But even if you're not affiliated, or you'll see PPA. PPA is there. If I'm a PPA member, I can go right in there and it'll come right into specific application for PPA members that get approved in an expedited way, and we provide kind of additional benefits and services to those kinds of members. What I'd like to do now is turn it over to Todd Fosh, just to talk a little bit about where we're going to go further from here in terms of what we're going to build from an educational standpoint as the National Energy Improvement Fund for our contractors. And Todd, are you able to speak at this point?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, and I will. So Todd, just as a background again, Todd is a really dynamic contractor sales trainer who has been involved with me for a number of years and is now back and has a kind of a national expertise in helping contractors grow their business in not what I would call the traditional, we've all been to a lot of these sales, rah-rah sales pump-up meetings. That's not Todd's style, although Todd is a charming and wonderfully engaging presenter. But it's not about like, hey, I got, it's not the hard sell. It's the how do I build a trusted brand. So Todd, just talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing here, and I will flip to your next. There's Todd. Look at Todd.
Sure. Yeah, there I am, right there. So Peter, you took my intro anyway. So yeah, I've had a great chance to work with Peter the last 4 years. most recently as a director of contractor and sales training at Renew. So what I did, I typically start off by saying, look, in that period of time, I spent time with thousands of contractor reps and sales teams, specifically talking about selling skills and how do we connect to customers. So I've been in this field for over 20 years and I've been certified in a ton of different programs around how we connect to customers. I've done workshops globally. It's been amazing working with teams in their shops, spending time at the Eastern Energy Expo. I've done webinar series, all focused in on how we can get better every day to create those relationships that weather even the most difficult times, and how do we do it better, stickier, and more relevantly. So, Peter, why don't you go ahead and advance, and we'll talk about what we're putting together. So, Peter and I spent some time last week thinking about how can we create a series of webinars to take that level of trust to another place. So, NEIF definitely sees themselves from a trust perspective as a partner for you. So this is a value add that we're providing that typically no other provider has, right? So we want to be able to find ways in this time of challenge, especially, to focus in on how we connect to our customers, especially now given all the uncertainty that Peter talked about, and how do we find ways to focus on what we can control. So this time is almost, it's a definite experiment, right? I can control certain things. I can't control everything else around me. What I can do is focus in on how I get better at what I do. And it's not rocket science, it's focusing on fundamentals. So we've created 5 one-hour sessions. We're going to introduce them to you today and encourage you to keep your eye out for invitations around the webinars and how we get these started. It's going to happen very soon. And we're going to break it out in 5 groups. So the first one I typically look at as a mindset builder. So this idea of brand, from a selling perspective or connecting to customers, it's 2 things. Really, it's the mindset of what I do for myself around how I create what I need to. And then the rest is really the playing field. So the playbook or the science of selling. So this first one we're going to kick off is this notion of brand and influence equals strong relationships. What I mean by that is that every one of your companies has a great brand. I want to take it to the individual level to say, look, the first thing that a customer sees is a face of my rep or hears me on the phone. And what do I tangibly do to make myself better all the time? Because I know the first perception I create sends a message around how somebody's going to behave. And if I want them with me and I want them buying from me, I need to be able to understand how I can shape what that looks like, because that will help me create strong relationships. If not, it tells me whether or not I really have a good relationship. I can't tell you the number of reps I've worked with in the last 4 years who thought they had a deal, yet it keeps slipping every month. And typically it's something missing in the relationship piece around the compelling need for somebody to want to buy something. So as an example, when I talk about brand, it's about viewing how you view yourself and where your sense of power and your ability to connect to customer is, and how do I make that even better? And I'll give you a quick tip from all the reps that I've worked with, whether it's California, Florida, New York, PA. It comes down to little things, right? So everything I say and do has an effect on my customer, and it can come down to language. You can think about somebody who's on your team who uses the word hope, or I think, or or just, or but, and little words here and there can shift and create somebody that becomes more confident, competent, and credible with customers, as an example. So we'll spend an hour doing that to set the groundwork. The next 4 really around the sales process. And like I said, I've done this globally for the last 20 years across different industries. And everybody has a sales process, and it's odd. I'll be in a contractor shop in the state, and they'll have 12 steps. Somebody has 5. The idea really is pretty straightforward, right? I prepare, I go out, I open up my call with my customer, I try to make a friend, engage, look at photos in the home. I do a good diagnostic sit, or if it's a conference call, I try to find the most compelling reasons they want to do anything. I eventually recommend a solution and an approach for them to be able to pay for it. And I wrap it up and I close it. And if I've done my job really well, it's not a surprise, right? I ask for the sale and it happens. So we're going to break them out into 4 different pieces. The first one is really around the idea of preparing, right? So I use this quote: the will to win means nothing without the will to prepare. And I may tell the story when we get to that session about what I learned from a defending Boston Marathon champion right before I went out and didn't run very well. So the idea is, especially now, so Peter, if you hit the next button, we'll have a little animation that goes to the bottom. Especially now, it's how do we adapt in times of change? So preparing is a bit different. So for those of you who have experimented with working in Zoom or trying to connect to your customers via virtual tools. The idea of preparing is helping them get ready for something like that if you're going to connect with them. Other than that, it's really, what do I want this engagement to look like? I can't tell you the number of times I've worked with reps who are just winging it, or they have a set of calls and they're going to use their own muscle memory and behavior, and it doesn't really change the outcome they want. If I want to close more, I have to set up a really good preparation and open my engagement that bulletproofs the relationship that I want to build. We'll move from there into this idea of the art of listening. And like I said, in 20 years and working around the world, I haven't met a sales team that couldn't be better at listening. And the reason why is because I want to create a really good diagnostic call where I'm understanding everything below the surface level around what's most important for somebody to buy. What I mean by that is that they're talking to 4 different companies. Everybody's going to find out the same basic needs around budget and what somebody needs to do. What I want to do is get beyond that level to find out the most compelling reasons somebody wants to buy. Listening really well and creating that diagnostic call changes that. From there, it's about connecting the dots. So how do I recommend the right approach and making sure it ties back to everything I heard the customer tell me so that I can only do those things that are great. I heard Peter talk about somebody before saying, hey, it was a great presentation, and I've heard that a lot. A great presentation could be the fact that you hit all of your bells and whistles and buttons, yet the homeowner's still left somewhere behind because it's not connecting to what was most critical in their mindset. And then finally, how do we actually run the close, right? So I know that this is covering up a little bit, but I've got it memorized. Closing every call consistently. So closing the sale, making sure that happens, and making sure it's not a surprise, right? So if I've done my job along the way, I've answered all the objections before I get to the end, and I've created a sense of commitment with my customer where we're doing it together. So we are going to use this set of sessions to create a sense of additional value for you. So obviously, Peter and the team have a great product and solution, and I believe him wholeheartedly when he talks about the sense of fairness and trust and transparency. It's about how do we provide additional tools to help you get there. So like I said before, keep an eye out for the webinar details in the series. And if there are questions you have about that, definitely reach out to Peter, Randy, or myself, and we can give you a bit more detail. So with that, Peter, I already see that you've moved to another slide, so I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Todd. So guys, as Todd said, please stay tuned for the opportunities there to really help us get engaged with you in a real good educational way. So here's our team. Randy, are you able to speak, Randy?
Yeah, I'm here, Peter. Yeah.
Okay. So Randy Baca is really our Senior Director of Business Development and handles Pennsylvania, so he might just want to introduce himself. So.
Yeah, I handle basically the Mid-Atlantic states. I'll be the one that will be directing you guys as far as bringing you on board, the onboarding process, the training process, assisting you all throughout the first stages of the loan process on your first deals. And then we're here to support you guys. I believe in speed to action, so we're very quick to respond. So if you guys put a phone call into us, we'll be getting back to you within an hour and a half. So we look forward to seeing you all on board. I look forward to supporting you guys and making a lot of money together.
Great. Well, thank you. And Ted, that wraps it up from us. From a standpoint, I would encourage anybody, if they have questions, we're happy to take them, but or just reach out, go to the website. You can find our contact information if you want to call me or Randy or Todd or anybody on our team. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, guys. We have not gotten any questions at the moment. I'll give it a little bit more time here. Again, you can type questions into the question feature. But just a quick reminder on our end, we, as I originally alluded to, we normally do this webinar series the first Tuesday of each month. So next week is the first Tuesday of May, and we will be resuming our normal schedule in that regard. So let's see if I got anything in. We have not. So you see all the contact information on the screen. Would again like to thank Peter, Randy, and Todd for your time today. And thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep, take care.